no, Canadians have no idea the level of criminal money laundering running through our cities that's connected to this. So that's the issue. I just want to add before we look, where do we go from here?
I hope that countries from around the globe are taking note of what is happening here in Canada right now. The amount of corruption and how infiltrated our government bodies are. This is just so incredibly eye-opening and so embarrassing, shameful, and frustrating. On that note, we are going to be talking about a number of things, including the Liberals' latest response, which is just like, who are these people? And NDP Jagmeet Singh, my Lord. You know how they had Britney Spears under a conservatorship, and same with like Amanda Bynes? Can we please get Jagmeet Singh under a conservatorship already? This is crazy here. I'm Jasmine Lane. This is Over Opinionated. Lots of opinions, lots of news for you today. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment your thoughts down below. You can also give me a follow on other social media platforms as well. So let's just kick this off with Jagmeet Singh, who needs to be under a conservatorship, clearly, because he has access to all kinds of money and influence and opportunities and people. And clearly, he is not mentally sound to be able to take that on right now.
That's right. So we want to bring back the electric vehicle rebate and double it when it comes to made in Canada electric vehicles. We want Canada to be the best place in the world to build electric vehicles. And to do that for Canadians who are right now, they're pretty angry that Donald Trump is attacking his good neighbor, his ally. We've been great neighbors. We've worked together. And so Canadians are angry and are saying, well, we are not going to buy American. We're going to buy Canadian. To help Canadians make that choice, we want to make it easier. So a $10,000 rebate for made in Canada electric vehicles, which there are a number of them.
You know, all of that is a nice little idea, but you have to remember that Parliament is prorogued, so you can't do anything at all. In terms of having manufacturing, you know, really ramping up in Canada, we would first need for the government to rescind all of their regulations that, you know, prohibited mining in certain areas, shut down mining. We would also need to have money that the government could invest, which we don't have. And we would also need to have a consumer market for electric vehicles that is really, really rising at a rate far more rapid than it currently is. So all of those things sound really nice and virtuous, but they aren't actually rational. In terms of the rebate, I think I reported on this a little while back that they initially had a $5,000 rebate. I'm not sure if they just ran out of money in it or they decided to seize the program. I don't know. They didn't provide specifics, but that rebate program was quashed a couple months back now. And then to say, yeah, we want to have a $10,000 rebate now just sounds really stupid to me because, you know, I don't call me crazy, but I don't think it's actually a good idea for a government that is in as much debt as we are, a country that is hurting as bad as we are with so many other priorities. So you mean to tell me that the government is going to set aside taxpayer money for a fund of $10,000 per electric vehicle sold? That sounds stupid. Why don't we use that money instead to pay down our deficit? Why don't we use that money to improve things in Canada? Why don't we use that money to go fund some of those massive projects that are going to be needed in order for Canada to be very independent and to control and use and become wealthy off of our resources? All of those things sound like a way better idea. I don't want rebates, actually. What I want is a country that promotes entrepreneurship. I want a country that instead of offering handouts to everybody, it encourages people to rise to their fullest potential with the ability to come from nothing and become wildly successful. That's what I want. But these Liberals and NDPs seem hell-bent on ensuring that Canada faces absolute economic collapse. Just watch the host's face here when Jagmeet Singh, who speaks for nobody, by the way, he has a party of 24 seats. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants him. In fact, most of us are quite embarrassed by him. And here's what he said on CNN.
Donald Trump has picked this fight, so we're going to fight back. We just announced today, what I would do is put in place a 100% tariff on Tesla, directly targeting Elon Musk. Because Elon Musk is proudly touting this idea of the 51st state, so let's hit back at Elon Musk. I've also said we should shut down the supply of critical minerals, another move that directly targets Elon Musk and his Tesla company. The batteries that he needs require these critical minerals. We've got tools, and we should be ready to use them. It's not something that we wanted to do, but if Donald Trump wants to bring this fight, know that we are ready. I'm putting Donald Trump on notice.
How humiliating is that? And then Doug Ford doubles down on this idea, and just you wait. We're going to show you what Trump's response was.
People don't realize, as we stand right here, right now, we can deliver from Ontario electricity as far south as Florida. In just a moment's notice, we can flick on the switch or flick off the switch. I prefer flicking on all the switches, and encourage more exports of Canadian energy and electricity to the U.S. to power your economic growth.
Consider this a good reminder to have self-awareness when you are the underdog, not because you have to be, but by choice, because of your own decisions.
This is breaking news in Canada. Donald Trump just threatened up to 100% tariffs on Canadian-made vehicles. This would absolutely ravage our auto industry in Canada.
Which, by the way, is specifically Doug Ford. So maybe Danielle Smith actually had the correct approach after all.
If it comes to that, our response, of course, will be firm and clear. We will stand up for Canadian workers. We will stand up for Canadian industries. And more Canadians will stand up for each other. This is a moment of pride. This is a moment of pulling together.
And why are Canadians so unhappy and mad at Donald Trump for all of this? You know, it wasn't Donald Trump who put us in the economic place that we are right now, where a 25% tariff on various things is going to be an absolute devastating blow. That was our own government who did that. That was our own government who blocked resources, blocked provinces from doing things that they should be able to do in order to thrive, blocked pipelines, blocked stuff from getting built, increased our taxes to fund things like the rebates, or perhaps, like Tucker Carlson shares here, to fund things that have a layer of much more malevolence than most people are willing to look into.
This weekend, I had a meeting in a ski resort in the Alps, which is probably the most expensive town in the world. I was not there to ski, for the record. But the whole town is Ukrainian. You know, all the visitors are Ukrainian, and they're rolling into Air Maze and dropping $1 million in an afternoon. All through Europe, you see this. The richest people are the Ukrainians. That money is ours. It belongs to me and you and every other American taxpayer. That's where it's going. Second fact, not guess, fact is the Ukrainian military is selling a huge percentage, up to half of the arms that we send them. Half. And I'm not guessing about this. I know that for a fact, not speculation. And a lot of us winding up with the drug cartels on our border. This is a crime, what's happening. Our intel agencies are fully aware of this. You tell me they're not profiting from this. Of course, you think the CIA is not profiting from this? Yes, they are. Can't prove that, but I believe that. What they don't know this. I know this, but they don't know this. They know this. No one is saying it. Like, no American seems aware of this. We're sending these arms to Ukraine, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's being stolen and sold to our actual enemies.
You know, you don't hear Americans panicking over 25% tariffs, retaliatory tariffs in the United States. They don't care because their economy is strong enough that it doesn't really matter. Ours isn't. And that's not Donald Trump's fault. That's Canada's fault. That's Canadian government officials' fault.
I have a message today for President Trump. If you force our hand, we will inflict the biggest trade blow that the United States has ever endured.
There is such an incredible psychological operation happening on Canadian people right now, and you need to know this. You need to see this and pay attention to the narrative being crafted that is solely to benefit Justin Trudeau. And Fox News actually called this out. I'm going to show you that right away. I first wanted to show you this. Came out earlier today. The Liberal runner in Ontario. Here's a part of the PSYOP, by the way, of how this is all Trump's fault and Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh are the saviors.
We've also created what we call the Fight Tariff Fund, the FTF, or, F Trump Fund, too, however you want to take it.
Like, just think about that. What kind of a politician or political leader would say something like that about somebody who is about to absolutely eviscerate your country due to your poor decisions, by the way?
Guy We know that Trump's a believer in manifest destiny. He is quite the businessman. What is your take on, the fact that he is now doubling down on his maybe attempts to annex Canada?
Yeah, I mean, respectfully, it's not a real thing. We're not going to annex a sovereign country. Canada is a proud country. It's an ally of ours. Now, if this is a very aggressive negotiating tool and threat sort of hanging over ongoing negotiations over the tariffs or what have you, maybe I probably wouldn't do it that way myself. But Trump has, of course, his own way of doing things. I have another theory here, by the way. I'm not sure that was an accidental hot mic moment from Justin Trudeau. I think Trudeau knows exactly what's happening, and he wants to pump the threat of an annexation of Canada because he believes that can help his party. They have been floundering in the polls. They've been down for a year and a half to the Conservatives by 20 points. But the idea that maybe scary Trump from the U.S. would try to overthrow Canadian sovereignty could be this political lifeline to the political left in Canada. And I think that's why he's going to hype this. There's a political advantage potentially there for the Liberals up in Canada to use that threat in the elections upcoming.
Interesting, a little bit of strategy there, perhaps.
And I would say, given the fact that the hot mic moment that was captured was, of course, ever so conveniently by none other than CBC News, I'm not shocked by that. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if that wasn't, in fact, a hot mic. It seems kind of weird in general, doesn't it? You have media there. Why don't they go and collect their microphones when they get removed from the room? Why would they just leave a piece of equipment behind? That doesn't make any sense. Why would Justin Trudeau, when he's about to go have a private portion with other important people, forget that, there's a mic clipped to him or whatever the story is going to be? None of it makes any sense at all. And they have absolutely used this to their advantage to further the psyop in Canada and make people horrified, terrified, scared of Donald Trump. And in that, they have also now been using all sorts of Pierre Poilievre's lines to go and try to plead their case to Canadians. I mean, let's just go through a few examples. The carbon tax, the Liberal Party defended the carbon tax for so long, saying that it was absolutely essential for combating climate change. They said that Pierre Poilievre had no plan. He was neglectful. They said that his defense spending, they downplayed it. When Pierre Poilievre would bring that up, they would downplay it, saying that, his calls for higher military were excessive, that they were fiscally irresponsible. And now that there's a Liberal leadership race and the threat of Donald Trump, everybody is admitting that they're actually conservatives, I guess, and they're taking all of his ideas to go and prop themselves up. This is very concerning that this is happening. People are literally being brainwashed. They are literally being manipulated right now. And they are taking all of Poilievre's ideas and then using them as their own. That should just straight up not be, that should be against the rules in a leadership race, by the way. That is so gross to do.
Do you think Donald Trump is a threat to Canadian sovereignty right now, Premier?
No, there is the only threat that could ever be to Canadian sovereignty is ourselves. We should never be putting ourselves. And first, let me clarify: under no circumstances do I think Canada should be a 51st state or could be a 51st state. But we should make sure that we don't put ourselves in the vulnerable position where that kind of talk can even be considered. And by vulnerable position, I mean we need to make policy decisions. And you can ask yourself about the policy decisions we've made over the last number of years. We need to make policy decisions that prioritize our strength, prioritize our ability to be energy secure as a nation, food secure, and manufacturing secure. I don't know that all of the decisions that our current government has made have been focused on enhancing our economic security, enhancing our energy security, and enhancing the strengths that we have as a nation.
As Scott Moe says, yep, the biggest threat to this country is ourselves. It is the people who are still going to vote Liberal because they have fallen victim to the psyop, to think that even though the Liberal Party is now proposing all of Pierre Poilievre's ideas, that Poilievre is a bad guy. He's just so negative and bad for pointing out all of the failures and flaws and corruption of the Liberal Party of Canada. I found this post on X that says, Canada, this is what Trump was not responsible for. He didn't stop your export pipelines from being built. He didn't drive $500 billion of capital investment out of Canada, didn't stall the growth of your GDP per capita for the last 10 years and then and create a mass immigration problem to temporarily spike it so that he could look good on the world stage, didn't flood your country with thousands of migrants, didn't triple your debt. Trump didn't cause your housing costs to skyrocket. He didn't make the Canadian government borrow $600 billion. Trump didn't legalize hard drugs, didn't create the healthcare crisis, didn't cause 1/3 of Canadians to go hungry and food bank usage to more than double. Trump didn't turn your dollar into monopoly money. He didn't push DEI in your country, which caused many to be hired not for their expertise, but for their color, gender, ethnicity, or political connection. Trump didn't make Trudeau break his promise to veterans. He didn't denigrate and decimate your military. He didn't force Trudeau to slap a carbon tax on Canadians that no one wants and that has done little but make life more expensive. Trump didn't have anything to do with how Trudeau treated Jody Wilson-Raybould, Vice Admiral Mark Norman, General Fortin, and others. Nay, Canucks. No, the blame can be put squarely on Trudeau, Freeland, Carney, Liberals, NDP, and the spendthrift, divisive, and inept government that he and his ministers and MPs have run for the last 9+ years. I had the opportunity to see Jordan Peterson last night. He's doing a tour across Canada. I know a lot of people are going to go see him in Calgary as well. You're going to have a great time. But during the community questions portion of his show, and you're able to, if you arrive early, there's a QR code on the screen before the show actually starts so that you can submit your questions, and he'll go through a few of them at the end. And one of the questions was somebody was asking about Mark Carney, Donald Trump, Pierre Poilievre. And he went off on Mark Carney, which I'm sure I'll include in a future video. But the one thing that he said about Trump and Trudeau was, why is Donald Trump doing this? Well, he's doing this because he hates the Democrats in America. They tried to ruin his life. They may or may not have also tried to have him murdered. And Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party of Canada is even worse than the Democrats in America by many standards. And that's absolutely true, by the way. So he views Justin Trudeau as his worst enemy, essentially. And then he knows that Canadians voted for Justin Trudeau. Not once, not twice, 3 times. So, yeah, he probably does have quite a lot of disdain for many of the people in this country who have not opened their eyes yet. And when you have blocks on social media for other news outlets, social media, like it or not, is where a lot of people do, in fact, get their information. Over 80% of women over the age of 30 are getting their news from TikTok these days. And news is not shared in Canada from anywhere else other than the official government-funded platforms. So I'm not surprised at all that people think the way that they do when that is all that they hear. I'm not surprised at all that they think the way that they do when you think about our education system, how much they have prioritized DEI spending as an example. I actually have an incredible guest, Eric Kaufman, who you may be familiar with, also due to Jordan Peterson, who's going to be joining me on my show next week.
There was this moral panic, this hoax about 215 Indigenous children buried outside the school in Western Canada. There's not a single body that has been found through any scientific method. There's not any record of any children missing, that could be accounted for. So the whole thing is a complete scam. The media has completely run with that story, and now when it was exposed, and there was a piece that came out in the National Post saying, look, we haven't got any evidence here. There were no other media were willing to take down stories or recant or anything. And in a poll that in a study which is going to be coming out soon, roughly 65%, 2/3 of Canadians believe in the 215 mass graves myth. So the entire country has been deluded by this myth.
Stay tuned for that in terms of woke mind virus. I'm not surprised that Canadians are the way that they are. I'm very disappointed by it, surely. But Jordan Peterson said something else, too, that I thought was rather enlightening. And that is just, simply put, What are you doing though? Like, you as a human being, what are you doing? Are you involved in politics at all? Do you have social media accounts where you're sharing things? Are you involved in the school board? Are you involved in campaigns in your city? What are you doing that is helping you to be involved? And how much are you actually speaking the truth when you're talking with people around you? How much are you self-censoring because you don't want to be canceled? Because the people that are going to cancel you are going to take advantage of that, and they have. So what are you doing?
Daniela, I'm hearing from current and former high-level police officers that say, despite what the Globe and Mail or Daniel Dale at CNN are reporting about, 40 kilograms is it. No, Canadians have no idea the level of criminal money laundering running through our cities that's connected to this. So that's the issue. I just want to add, before we look, where do we go from here? What Mark is saying about a hurricane, that hurricane is going to hit us with 25% or more if we don't put a real fentanyl czar in place. That is someone with credibility, that the US government, look, they're not going to be fooled if you put a Justin Trudeau office lackey in that position. They need someone that can assure the American government that the RCMP will work with the DEA if they want to put a wiretap on a triad boss or a cartel boss in Vancouver and Toronto, because it didn't happen before. The last point is, look, this US-Canada strike force on organized crime, I believe the American government is going to want to see legal memorandums of understanding signed with Ottawa saying this isn't just pretty language to put off a tariff. This is some sort of joint laws between Canada and the United States.
As we know, Justin Trudeau is in Paris right now for some AI summit. Vice President J.D. Vance is there as well. Media have reported that Trudeau and Vance have not spoken at all about any of this stuff. They actually haven't spoken at all about any stuff, apparently, which just sounds like bad diplomacy to me. But this is really going to signal who we are up against and who they are really fighting. I've heard so many reports saying that one of the biggest things that Donald Trump is trying to do right now is to pretty much get rid of the WEF, to get rid of all of those global elites that are money laundering, that are pushing absolute BS to enrich themselves, which our government is completely infiltrated and corrupted by. We know this. Mark Carney's running. Mark Carney's been advising Trudeau to be in the situation that we're in for years now. So this is a fact. Many liberals, Klaus Schwab has even bragged about how many liberals on Trudeau's party are a part of the WEF.
The thing to prevent a predator from preying on a child on the internet, and it is something quite different to prevent a grown man or woman from accessing an opinion that the government thinks is misinformation. Meanwhile, for smaller firms, navigating the GDPR means paying endless legal compliance costs or otherwise risking massive fines. Some authoritarian regimes have stolen and used AI to strengthen their military, intelligence, and surveillance capabilities, capture foreign data, and create propaganda to undermine other nations' national security. I want to be clear. This administration will block such efforts, full stop.
I'm Jasmine Lane. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed filming it. I encourage you to get involved as Jordan Peterson encouraged his entire audience last night in any way, shape, or form. You know, we actually need to stop being afraid of being canceled. We need to stop being afraid of losing our jobs. We need to speak up, because if we don't, we're screwed. We are absolutely screwed. So I hope that you can do that in some capacity. And I know that it's scary. But it must be done. The truth must be spoken. Absolutely. Subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more content like this. You can also like the video, comment your thoughts down below, and I will see you on other social media platforms as well if you want to give me a follow over there.